Hi and welcome to this week's episode of BeBelle podcast. Today I'm bringing on someone that has become a friend to me over the last couple of years. In fact, she's a massive inspiration to me. When I think of this person, I think of courage, and hopefully throughout this episode you'll see why. She's an amazing businesswoman and I'm really, really honoured to call her a friend. Today I welcome Jenny Johnston O'Neill. Okay, it's September and it's that time of the year that we're trying to get everything together because Q4 is around the corner and the end of year is imminent. This is the time when we're starting to find all of our inventory, our invoices, when we really want to be getting on with looking after our business. And so this is where Revolut Business comes in. Revolut takes all the hassle out of all the point of sale. You can accept payments in the same place you're doing business banking, whether selling in person or online. They offer competitive and transparent pricing with prices starting from as low as 1% or 20 cents for online payments. And payments can be accepted by all major credit cards. So American Express, Visa, MasterCard, or the digital wallet. And guys, the best part is you get your money quickly. Within 24 hours of taking a payment, it's going to hit your bank account. So less stressful and super easy. Everything is linked up so you can organise and manage your cash flow with zero stress and get back to what really matters for you, which is running your business. Our exclusive offer for BeBelle listeners expires at the end of this month, so sign up now at www.revolut.com/RB/BeBelle to unlock a €200 bonus. So let Revolut Business look after the money so that you can start putting your time into where is important, and that is running your business and growing it. The offer is valid to all new business customers in Ireland. Sign up before September 30th, 2025 and add money to your account to get your bonus. T's and C's apply. Jenny, welcome.
Thank you.
You found us.
I found you.
I always love that bit. We're up on the 5th floor in Dundrum Shopping Centre in Dublin South radio station, and it's funny because you know where it is, and you it's on the 5th floor, okay. And then you're like, am I in the right place? Yeah. Everybody does it.
I went and asked the little lovely lady in the citizens information. I was like, I'm not here for citizens information, but could you please point me in the right direction?
It's mad, and it's been here a long time actually. Yeah. But yeah, there's always a little bit of difficulty getting people in. But you made it.
I made it.
Defluster, so it's all good. Welcome.
Thank you.
I am delighted to have you on. How many pods have you done?
One, I think.
One, okay. So I was desperate to get you on for this series, and I kept saying to Aoife that helps me with the series, we must get Jenny on. She's like, I've reached out, blah, blah. And I was like, because Jenny in a couple of years will have done 100 podcasts. And so anyone that doesn't know that knows it now.
And you said it first.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I know what's coming for you. So I'm delighted to have you on today. And obviously this is all about the people behind the business. Mm-hmm. And we've known each other for a couple of years now. And I describe you as someone that I know as being very courageous.
Oh.
And so I can't wait for people to understand why. Oh. But where did it all begin?
Gosh. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here. Where did it all begin? I don't know. I suppose
Well, where were you born?
Okay,
let's go
I was born
back.
in Dublin. I'm a complete city girl.
Are you complete
Both
city?
My parents are from Dublin. Not quite inner city Dublin, but city centre, not city centre, but city, suburbs, whatever.
Yes.
Busy places, I suppose. So I grew up there. Yeah, I'm the youngest of 5. Yeah.
Okay.
So
and siblings, boys, girls?
I have one brother, 3 sisters even, sorry. I'm the 4th. And lots of nieces and nephews.
Yes.
So I'm younger by quite a bit to most of my siblings, but very close to them all.
And is there gaps between them as well? Because I was in my family, we're 5, and there's 21 years between the oldest and the youngest.
Okay, wow. Okay, you're a bigger gap than us. So there's 12 years between me and the oldest. So the first 4 were quite close together. And then there's 7 years between me and my next sibling.
Okay.
But yeah, we're all very close. The girls in particular, because there's just the girly stuff that we all do together. I suppose they were a massive influence on me, of course, me being the youngest daughter in the house, and they were all growing up before me, and I looked up to them and kind of followed in some aspects of what they would have done.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where it all started.
And when you were at school, I suppose, like, did you have a graph, anything? Like, were you like studious? Did you love sports? Like, what floated your boat as a kid?
I was really into dance.
Okay.
I was very good at school, as in, like, wouldn't have done anything wrong. Really, like, afraid of my own shadow at school, which is so funny when I look back. I'm like, why was I so good? Like,
so Emma Dawn would call you a lick.
Oh, I absolutely, 100%. That was me. That was me. Especially in primary school and probably still in secondary school, to be fair. I'm trying to, like, who am I kidding? I was so good in school.
I didn't break rules though.
Yeah, but like I wasn't, the most academic or anything like that. I was just good, if that makes sense. I was quite average at everything, I would say. So my loves were like the creative side. Like, I loved dance, and I did all the kind of dance stuff outside of school and stage school and all of that. Loved it. I was like the Billy Barry kid, literally the Billy Barry kid, dancing around like the streets really as a kid. And I loved all of that. So I didn't really get into sport. And actually as an adult, I wish I did, because I love health and fitness now, and I love, doing classes and so on. At about 17, I dabbled in camogie. Okay. I was kind of hanging around with cool kids, and they were all doing like, the lads were all doing GAA and so on. And I'd never done it. My mum was like the most unsporty person in the world. So she just kind of never encouraged it with us, even though my brother would have done a lot. Anyway, I dabbled, got sent on a match. I didn't even understand the rules of the game. It was the last of it. It never happened again.
Just swinging the stick.
Absolutely not, just here for the lads.
Amazing. I love it. And would you do you still dance now?
Not so much, no. The odd time I'll do a little class just for fun. Yeah. But it is like, that is what brings me joy. Oh my God. Like, we were just talking about Michelle a few minutes ago before we came on, and she would say to me, what brings you joy? And still, it's that little girl inside that was there dancing, that just makes me so happy. Yeah. So I do still try and do a bit.
And when you think of that, like, because I often think of it, I danced a lot as a kid and whatever, and I think about where the joy came from. Is the joy in the movement? Was the joy in the recognition? Did you like standing on the stage? Was it the lights? Like, which part of it? Because I think they're all quite different.
It wasn't the stage piece, because that was so rare anyway, you know. And there was obviously some fun and joy in that. But for me, it was the weekly ritual of going. Like, I used to go to, you worked there actually in David Lloyd Review. So I went to Starstruck Stage School as well for a long time with Julian Benson, Lord rest him. And the joy for me was going into the class, learning a routine and mastering it. And like, I would be at the front of that line in the class, especially in the dance class. I loved it. And for me, that was my moment. Like, I was just, I could have died there and I would have been very happy.
Fame.
Yeah.
No, I get it. And that's what I used to love as well. Like, I loved tap because I loved to hear that the sound was right.
Yes.
And it was really,
time
you could hear that straight away. Whereas the other styles, not always.
Yes, yeah.
But yeah. So when you were then that age, what did you see yourself doing? Was that going to be your profession?
For a little while, a very short period, I thought I might want to be a professional dancer. But I suppose even actually quite young, 15-ish, I would have thought, no, that's not a career for me, as much as I absolutely loved it. There was a moment where I thought, will I move to London? Will I pursue this? I actually decided I wanted to be a TV presenter.
Okay.
Yeah, that was sort of my, I want to work in TV and I want to be a TV presenter and so on. And I actually went and did a course, a Bill Keating course in Ranelagh, TV presenting, producing, directing. Fantastic program. And so funny, I watched myself back. You do a piece to camera.
Yes.
And I have this awful habit of blinking a lot. Okay. And still to this day, and it's like a nervous thing. Now I've said it, I'll probably do it a lot.
Don't mention the blink.
But I watched myself back on it and I thought, oh my God, I can never be a TV presenter. Like, that's awful. Like, it was so bad. Anyway, but I still worked in TV and radio for a bit.
Yes.
It was kind of like my side job for a little while. I was out in Orchid as a runner, doing all the getting people drinks, whatever you had to do. I was in radio as a kind of an intern. And I went and studied audiovisual communications in it's now TU Dublin. So I still thought, maybe I'll work in TV or radio or that kind of communications industry. And I absolutely love that space. I love that creativity. I love making programs. And in that course, there was one module of marketing. And then I was like, oh gosh, I actually love the marketing side of things as well. So I didn't really know what I was going to do. So I got a full-time job Monday to Friday doing kind of marketing. And then I worked on a Saturday on the Tubridy Tonight Show.
Okay.
So for a time, I juggled both. And then, I
have to make a decision.
Yeah.
Did you feel that you had to make a decision?
So eventually, yes. Even with the radio, I was doing late night talk shows, helping out. Yes. So they were really late at night, finishing at 1 a.m, getting a taxi home, going to work for 9 a.m. And it was fine. I was very young. But, there comes a time where you're okay, I kind of also need to have a bit of a life. Yeah. So I gave up the Saturday job then. I gave up the TV side. But funnily enough, my husband, because we met in college, so he studied the same course I did. He still works in media, in TV, where a lot of my really close friends are still in that sector. So I still feel quite connected to it. And it's funny, isn't it? Everything comes full circle. It benefits me so much now, just having the kind of, the insight into how those kind of things work. Even when we're doing a photo shoot now,
It's so important, isn't it?
I studied photography. I can run a shoot. I can, all that stuff. No one can, I suppose, bullshit me.
Well, I think that's the important thing. I always say, look, back in the day I ran a beautician's. I trained as a beautician. I have never worked on anybody, but I knew how long it took to wax a leg.
Yes.
I knew how long it took for X, Y, Z. And that's the same. I did photography in college. I remember thinking I was really good, actually. And then the teacher would always say I was really shit. And then she'd be showing the pictures and crediting someone else. I'd be like, that is my picture.
Oh, no.
And she'd be like, oh, is it? Oh, well, actually, Sean. And I'd be like, oh, she just doesn't like me. But it is, sometimes you just need the knowledge.
Yes.
You don't need to be the person implementing all the time. And I think
100%.
People forget that.
Yeah. I was terrible at photography, by the way. But when I run a shoot, I am very creative. I think I have the creative eye for it. I just can't take the photo, I can style it, I can set it up and all of that. But it's funny. I work with so much of this now, video, photography, all of that. And I literally studied that back in the day. So it's funny.
It's lovely. It's a lovely circle. You spoke about your husband. How did you meet?
Oh gosh, this is so funny. Somebody said to me, a girl in my class in college, because he was a year below me, said, oh, who's that guy who looks a bit like Cillian Murphy? He doesn't look like Cillian Murphy, but back in the day he had long hair and very blue eyes. And I was like, oh yeah. And I saw him from a distance. I didn't even know his name. His name is Keith. But at the time I didn't know his name. And I was like, oh God, I want to be with him. Immediately. It's so bizarre. So we then I was working in the Radio Society. I was the public relations officer for the Radio Society, and I also had my own show and so on. It was a big deal at the time and we all loved it and great crack. And he was involved, but he was the year below. But we were having a fundraiser and it was on in the local pub or whatever. And I literally went over to him in the canteen. I was like, you're going to this thing on Friday, yeah? I didn't even know his name. And he was like, yeah. He's really shy and everything. I was like, yeah, I'll see you then. Anyway, got to the thing on Friday. I remember saying to a girl who was in his class, who's your man? What's his name? She was like, Keith. What? She couldn't believe it. I was like, oh yeah, no, I'd be into him now. Anyway, I bought him a drink. Brilliant. And the rest is history. He didn't stand a chance. God,
where is he from? He's from
Dublin. Yeah,
he's Dublin as well. Okay, that's
he
class.
Didn't stand a chance. God bless him. He's still putting up with me.
Putting up, I doubt it somehow. But so you made the decision, and marketing is your field. Where'd you go next?
So then I decided, I went and I did a master's in marketing. Because I actually had no qualification in marketing. I just sort of felt...
That one module though,
it had kind of got me excited enough. And then I got the day job, which was a kind of customer service / marketing role. Anyway, did that in a print company randomly.
That's mad.
20 years ago. That's where I started. With the two of the three founders of Azure. That's how I met them. So anyway, that's I'll come back to that. So decided then I went and did a master's at night. So 2 nights a week and the odd Saturday or whatever while I was doing that full-time job. That was another reason the Saturday job kind of had to go. And started in that. And that was probably 2008. And then the recession hit. That print business had an awful lot of government contracts. The tap was turned off overnight. The company went into liquidation. I moved to another print business for a very short period of time. And then that was the end of that. So then I suppose that's kind of the point that I look at for my career and say, okay, that's when it all started.
Okay.
So that's when I started working in real kind of marketing roles, I suppose. So I went from Snickers workwear, which is gas.
Still to the day, I love that because, there was such a resurgence of women talking about Snickers workwear. Yeah. But then though, because I only remember at that time sales and marketing. Marketing was starting to come through as a separate entity. But up to then, it had always been sales and marketing.
Yeah.
And did you find was it that role that you were going for? So was there always, although you had the marketing, they were looking for sales conversion, or like was it a separate role to them?
That particular role, I was still very young. It was a huge group though. So Hulterforce Group is a Swedish business who own Snickers Workwear brand and other brands. So for me, it was my first experience of a bigger company, and I fell in love with that. So the structure, the organizational, I had a manager in Sweden. I had my local manager here in Ireland. I was very much on the marketing side, although of course it always comes down to sales and, what's the sales growth and so on. They had a big sales team on the road. They sell through a dealer network. So it wasn't like direct to consumer sales.
Okay.
And so really I was kind of managing the brand.
Yeah.
And it was so funny, like all the photo shoots of all the men in the Snickers workwear and, the amount of like social media back in the day with the pictures. It was hilarious. But I must say, an unbelievably gorgeous organisation to work for. I literally, imagine this, I handed in my notice and cried. Cried. I didn't want to leave. I loved the people. I loved the team. But I had gotten an opportunity in air, so to move to telecoms.
Okay.
And I knew for my career I needed to do it. But it was such a tug, I was like, oh, I know I need to do it. But I love where I am. I love the people. And the people were just, people make everything, don't they? And they were just
100%.
fabulous people. And still to this day, I'm friendly with a lot of them. But so then I moved to Aircom at the time. And again, bigger business. Oh my God, I learned so much there. So I was on the commercial marketing team there. So it was called the proposition team.
Yes.
So this was the first time I really experienced marketing that was actually more Excel based than creative. I wasn't part of the brand team. I wasn't doing all the fun, sexy stuff. I was in the numbers. And my God, what a fantastic learning curve. Like, I was designing products. So like packages, broadband phone, whatever. And, designing what would go in those packages, what's going to appeal to the customer, and what are we going to charge for it? And then how's that going to impact the revenue line or the average kind of revenue per user and so on. It was an unbelievable, brilliant education.
I was going to say that it sounds amazing.
Yeah,
and actually,
super.
Again, back to not understanding all the different variations.
Gave me another little piece of the pie.
That gave you a completely new piece of the puzzle. Yeah, absolutely.
No, I was so bad at first. My God, when I look back, I'm actually mortified thinking about my early days. I hadn't a breeze, but like they stuck with me and I learned my craft there and I really did, get better, thank God.
Yeah.
So that was really interesting. And I loved that as well. And then I suppose from there, what happened was I came to this crossroad point where within Air, I was offered 2 different jobs. So one was sort of a promotion within the existing kind of team I was on, which was the proposition team. And one was a brand role, but on the Air business side. So it was like, they were, where I was the consumer side. Yeah. And I was like, do I want to go more brand, but it's B2B, or do I want to stay consumer, but it's, commercial?
Yes.
And I had a mentor at the time, Ronan Wild. He's the guy who owned that print business I mentioned that unfortunately went into liquidation. And I went and I talked to him. I said, what do you think I should do? I have these 2 job offers. I don't know what to do. What do you think would be better for me in the long run? And so on. And he had another business called Photo Value, still going today. Really great business, small Irish company, super business. And he was trying to set up kind of a new division, I suppose, and it had like an international aspect and all of that kind of good stuff. And he basically said, well, I'm going to make your decision even harder and I'm going to throw a third option on the table.
Oh, God.
And gave me this job offer for 3XM. It's kind of like a tech and product combined that they sold to photographers. So I took that job. And I went there and it was essentially working in a tech startup. And I was kind of the face of the brand. I was there for about 5 or 6 years. I spent most of my life traveling. We were expanding into the UK, into France, into the US. Was on the road. I mean, I literally was on the road 3-4 nights a week.
And so what age are you now?
I was probably, what age was I? Oh my God. I know I was there when I got married, so I was up until I had
babies. I was just going to say, like, so if you're travelling all the time, like, what's happening with Keith? When did we marry Keith?
He was there at home while I was travelling.
Okay.
And then we were renting a place at the time together, and then we moved in with my parents so that we could save for our own house and the whole, piece that everyone goes through at some point. So God love him, I was away 3-4 nights a week and living it up,
And
he was in my mom's. In my little pink bedroom, God love him. So I'd say I was probably 26-ish starting there, and maybe 32 when I finished. I had a ball there, and what a learning as well. Like, I was on stage. I was basically I was teaching photographers how to sell, how to do social media for their business, how to do marketing for the business. It was kind of part of our strategy. It was like a thought leadership piece. So I was on some of the biggest stages, you know, the big photography exhibitions over at the NEC in Birmingham or over in Las Vegas. I was up there talking.
Yes.
And I have to say, like, I loved it. Now, I was always nervous. People think it comes naturally for me to kind of stand up and talk. It never comes naturally, I have to be honest. But I still enjoy it and I get something out of it. And that also, I look at that part of my life as, you know, again, I learned so many skills, even just, of course, I was doing the marketing for the brand and I did a lot of digital marketing. So I really learned my craft in digital marketing in that business. And we had some phenomenal results for it, which was amazing. But just getting up on the stage and, you know, being on video on Facebook or whatever it was at the time, it was like, again, it all stands to me now.
But
so
that's that courage and confidence piece again, isn't it? And I'm going to and back to the dancing, you were always at the front learning. So I think you like the lights as well.
Maybe.
You did like the lights as well. I like the lights as well. Give me a room of 300 people and I feel really comfortable. Give me one-on-one and I'm like, oh, I wish I had 300 people. I'd just rather say it once.
Sometimes it's easier,
Yeah, especially learn teaching people. I'd rather say it once and teach everyone.
Yeah.
But I think speaking as well is another tool and another sort of piece because you have to be able to read the room.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
And not everyone can do that.
No, I know. And it's interesting. I remember the very first time I was ever about to go and do a talk and it was in a small enough room, about 30 people maybe.
Yeah.
And the person speaking before me was running over and so I was kind of standing outside and all the people who were coming into my talk were kind of waiting with me. And I remember a colleague of mine was like really freaking out thinking that I would lose the plot and be nervous because it was running late. And he went in and I was like, it's fine. But actually the best thing that could have happened was I was standing around outside with the people who were coming into the talk. So I kind of got chatting and it just put me at ease. I was like, okay, well, I know like Sian is in the room or I know such and such is in the room. And you know, it was actually the best thing that could have happened.
And you get a feeling for the people.
Yeah. And then it was all fine from there on.
Amazing. Mm-hmm. So to go from that, like at what point do you think it's time for me to move on?
Oh, it's so funny. So I suppose what happened there was then I got married. I had my first baby. I was on maternity leave. Oh my God.
Okay, just have to rewind a minute. Yeah. Where did you get married?
Ballymacarvey.
Oh, lovely.
Ballymacarvey Village here in Ireland.
And were you married long before your first child?
2 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So we had a bit of, you know, just we'd like to travel and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So we weren't quite ready for a kid at that point. So I think we got married when I was 30. We had Billy, my first boy, at 32. And I suppose then I was at again another kind of crossroads of can I keep up this level of travel? Because it was a lot.
Yes.
And like, what do I want to do from here on out? And I was sort of, you know, I was on maternity leave. I never sit still. And I was having a look, what's kind of out there? What would I even go for? Because it was quite niche what I was doing at that point in that business. And randomly, a recruiter's email or whatever landed in my inbox saying, would you be interested in chatting to me about this position I have for a Danish retailer? And I read it as JYSK. And I thought, who the hell are they? It's called JYSK. A lot of your listeners probably know this brand at this point in Ireland, but this was back in
50% of them don't know them as JYSK.
Yeah, I was like,
because I didn't know them as JYSK until you told me.
Yeah. So that was 2018. And I had a look at the email and thought, who are they? And I had a quick Google. And of course, very quickly, I could see they're one of the biggest retailers in the world. They're top 5 in Europe, billions of euro kind of a business in terms of revenue every year. And they wanted to launch in Ireland. And I thought, that is what, like
some job.
It was like per Keith, they didn't stand a chance.
Yeah.
I thought, I want that job. I have never put in more effort for an interview in my whole entire life. And by God, they put you through the ringer in terms of the interview process. Like there's a lot of stages, there's a lot of kind of, you know, presentations and case studies and all sorts of stuff. But I was on maternity leave, so I had a bit of time. And I went for that job. And basically I became the sales and marketing manager for JYSK in Ireland. But there was no other employees. Okay. So I was part of the country management team. They got a guy, Ronnie, from Finland, who was working for them in Finland to relocate to Ireland to run, like he's the country director now. He was running retail and operations. I was running sales, marketing and expansion. It was a phenomenal journey. I have to say, it's one of my favorite times of all time. Like we sat literally around my kitchen table planning for like, what are we doing here? Now, backed by a massive organization with their head office in Denmark, don't get me wrong. But we literally sat around my kitchen table. We had no head office. We had no staff. Like, where's the first store opening? When is it opening? How are we going to announce this to the Irish press, to the Irish public? What are we doing? And I joined kind of mid 2018-ish. The first store didn't open until April 2019. So I had like a long lead in, and I kind of visited all the other countries, not all of them, but some of the countries where they operate in, and got a feel for how they do things. And very formulaic, in fairness to them. You know, what a business, like phenomenal business. There's like a blueprint for everything. But I suppose I was really keen to make a big mark in terms of the marketing and the PR of it. And so we did a press call on, I think it was the 2nd or the 3rd of January, the January before we opened. And we were sat around my kitchen table again. We had issued the press release via the PR company, Elevate PR, who are phenomenally amazing as well. And myself and Ronnie sat there, and I thought, if we get one big one, I'll be happy. Because, I thought like they're not really going to be interested. And by Jesus, like every national newspaper, all the locals, especially in Kildare, because that was where the first store was opening, it was like the Vikings are coming, the Danes are here, move over, IKEA. Like the headlines were amazing. And
I love that.
From that minute on, honest to God, the press loved us. And we had such a warm welcome. And obviously that made my job so much easier. And then when we opened on the 2nd of April 2019, I cried again the morning of the opening. Like, this is how invested I was in this brand. My whole family were there. Billy was like, I don't know, almost a year at that point. He was there. Like, he's in all the photos from the front papers, like, on the day. But the founder, who has since passed, but Lars Larsen, he's like, the Richard Branson of Denmark, really famous, super successful guy, and his family and so on. He was there at the opening. And like, it was amazing. The queue was like nonstop. The people queued from 4 a.m. Like, it was insane.
It's a great company, though.
Amazing. And we went from 0 stores to 22 stores in 5 years. They're still growing. Huge, huge revenue turnover growth.
They're popping up everywhere.
Insane. Yeah. And they're still a client, which is amazing.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, they're one of my biggest and most loved clients. Obviously, I have such a good relationship with them, and I know from the inside out how they operate, so it works really well. Yeah,
but you have made those relationships, and that's what stands to you. Do you know what I mean? Because you are a relationship builder. Yeah, and I think that's really, really important. People forget that. They think when they leave a company, they move on, but you actually never really move on. It's all part of your DNA, isn't
100%, it? Yeah, and I'm so lucky. Like, my former employers, so like JYSK, Kilkenny Design, like, they're all clients, Yeah. And interestingly, I had awarded the JYSK contract to Azure before I even ever knew I would ever, it wasn't even on my radar that I would eventually end up there, and I awarded that contract. It's one of the biggest print and distribution contracts in the country still to this day. It's massive, like. So it's just, again, it's like that kind of, it all comes back, doesn't it?
It does. All comes back. Give a little, make those relationships, build those relationships, become friendships, loyalty. I still work with the same people I worked with when I first opened my business. I always say, actually, the guy, Mark from 3B1, did my first ever website back in the day. And he works with huge companies now. And I still have this little business down in Cork. And I'm sure he doesn't want me to work with him anymore, but he'll never be able to get rid of me.
I'm always stuck with you.
No, absolutely. We've just got a bond that's, because, we were both in a room like this at the beginning. Yeah. But I love that element of at the kitchen table. It doesn't matter if you're an employee, employed. I was the same when I moved here in 2000. We didn't have anybody. It was just me and my boss sat round a table going, how will we tell people about David Lloyd? It was the same sort of thing. Yeah. Very exciting though, isn't it?
Exciting. I love that aspect. I love the growth phase. I love the, I just get stuck in and make it happen, And I had a mantra when I was in JYSK, and I saw it as my job to make JYSK famous. Okay. That was like, so the brief I gave to because I then took over the UK as well for them, because Ireland was going so phenomenally well. And the brief I gave like PR agencies and anyone who was working with us was like, make JYSK famous. That was it. Like, just really simple, but how do we do that, Yeah. But it was just so exciting. It's kind of sexy as well, because, it's a value furniture brand, but we got to do really fun things like events and influencer campaigns and, all the stuff that I just love.
Love doing.
So yeah, we had a lot of fun.
Yeah. So why did you leave?
Oh God, good question. I suppose I was kind of number 2 in that organisation.
Yeah.
And unless I wanted to move to Denmark, there was nowhere else for me to go. And I have this thing, and I've always had it, like, it's like, don't give me a ceiling. Do not put a ceiling in place, because it just, and I it's not that they put the ceiling in place. I probably put it in myself. And originally Ronnie was coming for maybe 3 years and I kind of thought, okay, he's going to go back to Finland and I'll take over and run the show. But he loves Ireland and I'm still really good friends with him to this day. So he's not going. And I'm glad for my friendship that he's not going. But for my career at the time, I thought, okay, I'm not going to progress up or whatever. So there was that, but there was also, I had launched my own very small sustainable fashion brand called the Sus Edit. And I kind of wondered, could I really make that, have a go with that, and make that work. And I'd launched that while I was at JYSK. And I thought, could I go full time on this and so on? So I handed in my notice. I decided I was going to do the Sus Edit full time. And then I had a complete wobble and thought, what am I doing? This is never going to sustain my lifestyle. This is never going to pay my mortgage and so on. And then there was an opportunity with Kilkenny Design. And I really liked that because it kind of ticked a load of boxes for me. It was like there was fashion involved. It was Irish design. I'm really passionate about Irish design and supporting Irish makers and designers and all of that stuff that they're really good at. As part of that role, I was also handling and managing the Champion Green initiative, which is a shop local movement. So there was a load of things in that really kind of ticked some of my boxes. They were going through, or they at least wanted me at the time to kind of rebrand and help elevate the brand. And then there was the Lennon Courtney piece, which was coming on. Now, I didn't even know that when I first joined because it was top secret. And I don't even think I had started at that point. It hadn't. So eventually that came on. So there was all of that. And I have to say, it's funny. I went into that recruitment process, not sure about it, say on, let's call it interview 1.
Yeah.
And then on interview 2, I met Evelyn, the CEO. She was part of the second interview. And she had me sold from this. Like, I mean, you've met her. I mean, I was like, oh, wow. Okay, yes, I want in. Because I found her really inspiring.
She's an amazing woman, yeah.
And I hadn't had that many female role models.
Okay.
And I thought this is going to be very cool and interesting to work for a female. So I did that I actually only ended up doing that for a year because then the Azure thing came about. But again, they're still a client and friends and I work really closely with them. We do all their print and we do their paid digital or paid social, I should say. And like I met so many brands as part of that. I met you when I was there. I met like all of the kind of makers and designers that we stocked in the store. I built up some relationships with them, and some of them now are clients of mine also. So
it's brilliant.
I do kind of really believe that all these things are meant to be.
When did you have your second child?
Oh gosh, when did I have Arthur? He was born 2020, the pandemic.
Okay.
So that was when I was still at JYSK.
Perfect.
I was on maternity leave actually.
So is that when you started SUS?
I started that in 2019. Oh, no, sorry, 2021, after.
Yes. But were you on maternity when you started that? I'm just trying to work out when you had
following
time.
year. I don't ask me.
I always find maternity such a leader.
I didn't do that during maternity leave because it was the lockdown. It was like...
But you've got 2 small children. You're going into, a role after you decide, look, actually opportunities starting to come my way. And this is the courageous bit for me. Because to take the leap from normality and, a good job and the kids are grand and the husband's in a job and whatever, to go, actually, what's next for me?
Yeah.
So that thought process for you. So just explain to people what the I suppose the options were for you at the time.
So I had left JYSK. I was in Kilkenny Design. Yeah. By the way, I had always had this kind of entrepreneurial thing. So I'd done a few side projects. So the Sus Edit was one of them. I'd also bought a pizza franchise at one point and bought it, worked on it for a while, sold it. So there was a few kind of dabbles, I would say, into my own thing. As far back as Air, one of the girls I worked with, we would always talk about this. I always wanted to do my own thing, but I never knew what it was.
Okay.
So there was always that, but it was like I was one of those people like, I want to do my own thing. I just don't know what it is. And then, interestingly, so there was 3 founders of Azure.
Yeah.
And one of them is my brother-in-law. And I don't know, we were having a chat about my career and where I was going to go and so on. And he made a complete joke. Now, to him, he knew what he was doing, right? But he did make a joke where he said, oh yeah, you just find a pot of money, buy Azure and we're all happy, ha ha ha. And I laughed at it because it was like not even a single iota of it on my radar. Like I hadn't even considered Azure as any kind of possibility in my future. But it obviously dropped a breadcrumb. And somewhere in the back of my brain, this was dropped, on a January, let's just say, it might have been the September before I even discussed it with them, But it was in the back of my brain that, okay, maybe that's actually an option, and maybe I could buy that business, and maybe that's my future. And I have never bought a business. I mean, I've bought a franchise business. I've started my own business. I've never bought an existing profitable business. I have no experience. I had no experience doing that. So
this wasn't a small business, by the way.
No, like it's successful, you know. Yeah, all the good stuff, you know. So I started chatting to the guys. I said, you know, what's the story here now? What can we talk? Can we talk about this? And then I got some advisors, which is not cheap, by the way. Oh my gosh. But look, you have to do it right. So I got some advisors and said, you know, how am I going to do this? How can I buy this business? And the first few advisors I had said, it's never going to happen. You're never going to get the money. You know, it's not going to happen. And then I suppose it's like, you know, red rag to a bull.
Yeah.
I was like, well, why won't it happen? You know, why can't it? Like, what's stopping me? You know, I suppose I am quite an eternal optimist and maybe a bit naive in some cases, but look, it is what it is. So I then sort of thought really pragmatically about it. And I said, okay, let's be honest. I don't know how to run this business. I haven't been in the business. What if I don't like the bloody business? So we agreed that I would join as CEO. I didn't want to go in at anywhere less than CEO because it is a smaller business than where I was coming from.
Yes.
And I just felt for my own career, if I wasn't going to buy it, I didn't want to look like a more junior position or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we agreed I was going to go and run the business. I was going to grow the business. That's really what I like to do. And so we agreed, I suppose, what's called an earn-in agreement. So based on me growing the business, I would become an equal shareholder with the guys. So I had the opportunity to earn 25% shareholding just by growing the business.
Okay.
So that was great. I was delighted with that. In we went. And there was always the plan that at some point I would buy the remaining 75. But, you know, we'll talk about that in the future and we'll agree, whatever. So that was that. In I went, got under the hood. I'd say I was there 3 months. And I said, oh, lads, we just need to do this deal now. Because what I realised quite quickly was, okay, I could see, you know, there's nothing to hide. There's no skeletons in the closet. I trust what they're telling me is correct because now I can see the numbers and I can see how it works and so on. But also, by me growing the business, I was just increasing the valuation. And so even, you know, so I'm just going to have to pay more money. And of course, that's really obvious to anyone probably listening. But initially to me, I hadn't really thought about that. I was kind of thinking, well, I'll get 25% for just doing my job, you know, but...
Well, there is an agreement you could have done that stated I will grow it, but I purchase at that amount. But most people don't do that. Yeah. Most people grow it and then, 100% end up paying more.
Yeah. And then I think the other part of it was I realised, you know, before I got to the 25% might take, say, 5 years or something. And then it's going to take me 10 years to pay off a loan anyway. So I was like, then I want to retire. Like, or well, not quite, but, you know, like I'm getting on. So anyway, I said to the guys, can we do a deal? Can we do it now? And they said yes. And so I went and got finance and bought 100% of the business.
I absolutely love it. I love it though. And I think, you know, you used the word naive earlier. Sometimes we need a little bit of naivety because because that's the fear bit sometimes. Yeah. And you had no fear.
Yeah, and I think it's like kind of buying a house. You know, you don't know that process, and you don't know how stressful it is until you're in it. But then you all of a sudden get the keys, and you're like, "Oh, we're done." You know, I'll do that again because you forget the pain. Yeah, I suppose. And it's funny. I said to my husband, actually, I said to Keith, we completed the deal December 24, and I said to him, "Don't ever let me do that again." Like it was really hard at the, little parts of it, like the legal sides and so on.
Very stressful.
But already I'm like, okay, what's next? You know, what can we do? What do we need? How do we diversify our business? What can we bolt on? What should we be looking to buy? And we're going through a number of processes at the moment. So, you know, they're ongoing in the background.
So I was going to say, actually, what do you want for Azure now? You know, you're a year in, you've settled.
Yes.
What do you want for the business? Where do you want it to go?
There's a couple of things. I suppose the first thing was when I first went in, I felt like it was the best kept secret. Yeah. Like I knew the brand because I knew the brand and I knew the business and I knew how they operated and what they did. But I felt that nobody else knew about them. So my number one priority was increase the awareness and the profile and improve the perception. Like the perception amongst existing customers was really good. But for those who didn't know us, like they just didn't know us. So that was kind of priority number one. I would love us to be a complete full service agency. So obviously we're very good at print, packaging, marketing, digital marketing, creative services. We do all of that now, but the print is still probably 95% of what we do. So I would like to grow the other functions of the business, and just diversify and try and de-risk. Like I mentioned, back in 2008, I was in another print business. I went out of business. I kind of have the war wounds from some of that.
Yeah.
So just trying to, just diversify really and protect and kind of recession-proof as much as possible.
Yeah. People do underestimate print, I think. I think
You'd
it's
be
still
so
just
shocked,
so
like how
powerful.
Yeah.
But it's not a small. I mean, the first time I came to look at the place, I was like, oh God, it's like Willy Wonka's for paper. Like it's amazing.
Yeah.
But there's loads of stuff. And although a lot of the contract, you might send out all of the stuff for JYSK, and that comes through my post every week. Stuff from the government, whatever. And at the same time, though, you might create a book for an amazing female founder do you know what I mean? Like, so there's just so much more to it. And I think that's the piece. That's what you don't want to be a secret, because actually it's people still love that tangible stuff.
And, I'm really conscious that we don't promote print for the sake of print, you know, because it's wasteful, and I get that, and we're trying to be as sustainable as possible. And of course, everything we print on is, has all the credentials and is environmentally friendly and so on. But at the same time, I think like I was a marketeer, obviously, my whole career really. And I think what we probably underestimate is the impact of that tactical piece of print, and especially when it comes to kind of critical in communication. So from a trust point of view, people trust something that comes through the letterbox, versus something they see on social media. Now, we do digital marketing as well, don't get me wrong. They all have their place, but it's just reminding people, I suppose. It's kind of like, in the age of AI, customer service and relationships are going to become so much more important. And it's similar in this, I think it's similar here, in the age of social media and digital communications, print still has a place. And in some, like for example, during COVID, it was more important than ever.
Oh, it's like a trade.
Yeah.
It's like a trade for me.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like, because it will always be there. And it is that trust piece is super, super important. But obviously, like, huge successful business, people, it's not a secret anymore. Certainly isn't. And for me, I suppose, watching it, but how do you, look, we talk about, can you have everything? Is there balance in life, etc.? You've 2 small kids, you've a husband, like, we talked about how busy we were just before we jumped on, actually. And then you went, but I was away for a few days. But it's like...
Well, I was away for 3 weeks, so kind of serves me right.
Oh, Jesus. No sympathy there.
I know.
No, but that's amazing.
Yeah.
And actually, we shouldn't be mocking it. It should happen.
Oh, like, I'm all for that. Listen, I suppose I don't think it's possible to have everything.
No,
I think it's really, really hard. Something's got to give, no matter what. Like, this week, for example, Billy, my 7-year-old, is at a camp. I really wanted to collect him one day. Could I collect him? No. It's my first week back to work. I have a full schedule, And did I feel a bit guilty about that? Yes. But there's got to be trade-offs sometimes. The upside, I suppose, for me with this business, and it was part of my rationale doing it, and some people might say, oh, she's just going to be a lifestyle business. That's absolutely not my aim. I have huge ambition and I really want to get to 100 million. That's the goal. Like, no secrets about that. Like, we are going to grow and we're going to be huge. Not this year, next year, but, in the long term.
Yeah.
But can I do that and still have, a family life and quality time with my kids and so on? I think so. So one of the things I did last year, and actually was encouraged by Kieran, who was one of the founders, and I'm really grateful for this with him, and we had a good chat about it. I don't want to miss out on the important milestones in my family's life.
Yeah.
So for example, for this summer, I took the 3 weeks off. We had a really nice family holiday. That was all lovely. But I also took every Friday off for the summer. So I'm with them every Friday. This is the only week that I'm not doing it because it's my first week back. But every other week for the whole, summer months while they're off, it's kind of like a term time thing. I am quite flexible in terms of the way I work. I work really hard. There's often, some late nights, not all the time, but, when it's needed, I do it. But what does that mean? It means once a week, I drop the kids to school. So do I have a balance? I suppose it's kind of a yes and no answer. Yes, because I feel like I can set my own hours. And the whole workforce, we are flexible working hours. I really want to support mothers in particular in the workforce, but working women in general, because, we need a balance and we need flexibility to allow us to kind of have the career we want to have. So I do that for me. And I feel like by doing that, I'm kind of setting the tone,
100%. It has to be done by you.
Yeah.
And I think that's some of the problems sometimes is I'm the worst for it sometimes. Somebody says to me, oh, I've had a day off for a week, Sean. I go, oh my God, that's dreadful. I wouldn't be having that. And then I look at my schedule and go, oh God, hide it because I've just done that. And I do it without thinking sometimes. So like I started this thing recently of putting in my Google Calendar, no.
Yes.
And it's a 1-day event.
Okay.
So like in August, I'm working every Saturday and Sunday because I'm doing all wellness events. Okay. So on every Friday, it just says no.
Oh, I love it.
So as people were ringing me saying, can you just fit me in for consult that? And I'm just, Friday is not available.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got to do that though.
You have to.
And I did that in January. So with these Fridays off, because my calendar just kind of fills up, I booked them in January so that I knew when I came to summer, that's non-negotiable. I'm there with them on the Fridays. Yeah. And like, it is important to me. I am, like I said, so ambitious, but I don't want to look back and have that moment of, oh, I missed out. Or, my husband is amazing now. He does all of the heavy lifting, like all of the heavy lifting with the dropping and the collecting and the this and the that. But yeah, I just want to make sure that when I am there, it's kind of that quality time. And the weekends are all about the kids.
But isn't that great for the boys to see that too, though?
Yeah.
Because otherwise they just see mum gets called for this, mum gets called for that. And I don't think that we should be showing that anymore.
No.
Actually, I was telling the story the other day. My sister was in a school helping out and a bell went off and all the boys left the classroom and the teacher said, oh, girls, can you do me a favour? Will you just stay and let me tidy up? And my sister went, why have the girls got to do it? Like, she was so angry.
So gender biased, isn't it?
100%. Yeah. She was like, no. And my sister went to the corridor and called the lads back and said, clean your room before 100%. You leave.
She's so right.
Yeah, no. I was like, oh my God, I'm so glad you're not my teacher. You're quite scary. But it is really important. And I suppose like moving forward, now you have that in place. But it sounds to me like you're good at policing that as well.
Yeah, I try, and then there's times, and I think it's the same for everyone. Like we're all just human. There's times when I feel like it's a little out of control. Like this week, as I mentioned before we started talking, was hectic. But it's, my first week back, I got back to the office Monday, then I had a 2-day event Tuesday, Wednesday, and so on. So, it's a bit off kilter. But on a normal week, I am really good. I use my calendar for everything.
Oh, me too.
Anything I need to do is in my calendar. And it's open. So anyone in the office can see where I am and what I'm doing. Like if it's a private thing, I can mark it as private, but like, they see everything. So I always say to them, if you need to know, am I free to meet you? Or if you need to know where I'm at, just check my Outlook. It's open, it's free.
Done.
Yeah. So everything. And they actually laugh at me because sometimes, like, for example, I think Keith has a thing on this Saturday. So even like Saturday, Sunday stuff is in my work calendar because that's my one calendar that I use. Yeah. So they're like, oh, Keith's at Mondello this Saturday. I'm like, yep, yes, he is.
I love it. So what do you do if you've got that day off? I know you've just had 3 weeks with your family and the family is super important, but what do you do for yourself?
I may as well have a direct debit with my local skin beautician place. Okay. I love going there. Jardines is the name of the place. It's in Clondalkin where I live. And I'm going there on Saturday at 4:00, have my appointment booked. And I have like, a facial or a skin treatment or something like that. I am absolutely obsessed with skincare. I think most females are. Yeah, but so I do that. I work out. I do a little bit of running as well. I sound like, I'm not great. Like I have to force myself to do it because I don't love doing it, but I love how I feel afterwards.
After it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do I'd go twice a week to a personal trainer. Like it can't be easier. I have to make it really easy for me. It's a guy and a girl, husband and wife, and depending on who's working, I go to one of them. But they live around the corner for me. They have a home gym. I go to their home gym. Brilliant. 7 a.m. for an hour, Tuesdays and Thursdays, done. And then I had been doing quite a bit of running. I did a half marathon in March. I'm sort of slacking a little bit on the running front, but I don't love running, but I love how I feel when it's done. So I try and do a bit of running as well. But that's just my time.
Yeah, the running thing I never get, because I always say, actually, because obviously in my Pilates class I have a lot of runners.
Oh yeah.
But I always tease them because I always say, no one ever came into my class and said, Sean, you must come running, it's great fun. Oh. And people will say, come dancing, it's great crack, or come to this Zumba class, or come to this whatever. But no one ever told me to go running because it's fun. Yeah. But I do get the endorphin bit.
That is what it is. And yeah, it's still hard. I'm debating whether I'm going to do a marathon the Dublin Marathon in October. Okay. Oh, I don't know. We'll see. I haven't committed yet.
I have to get you a voucher for Reformer. We've got to get you into Reformer. So, listen, I want you can answer the question from the last person.
Ooh, okay. Will I read out the question? So it says, what do you see yourself doing in 20 years? Ooh.
So this was, I know who left this question. Okay, this was quite funny because we were talking about perception of time.
Yes.
So I did a course a while back, and the person I was partnered up with was 20 years younger than me. Okay. And we were asked to stand in a room and get the other person to stand where 10 years was.
Oh, wow, okay.
And he had me standing at the other end of the function room, and I had him standing sort of like third, like in front of me. Yeah. And I was like, as you get older, your perception of time becomes so much shorter. So this person has asked 20 years. So how old will you be in 20 years?
I'll be almost 60.
Okay. Will you be retired?
I don't know if can I ever retire, you know? Where will I be? Oh my God. I used to. No, I can retire. If someone comes along, and I don't know, we'll see. Oh gosh, that is such an interesting question.
20 years. Close your eyes. What would the picture be? What are the kids doing?
Yeah, I think I am retired. I think I am, you know, enjoying life, having that kind of quality time, definitely somewhere warm. You know, I need to be in the sunshine. Oh my gosh, can't cope with the bad weather. But I would love to think that I am supporting other businesses in, you know, some capacity.
Yeah.
I would love to still have, you know, not a full-time job or anything like that, but, you know, a day a week or whatever it might be, whatever form that looks like. But definitely advising, supporting and that kind of thing. Perhaps I still own Azure. Perhaps it's, you know, being on a board there. I don't know. But I would love to work with other, in particular, female founders. So yeah, I think that's what I would like to do.
Amazing. And that's the perfect way to finish. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
That was amazing. Cheers, babes.
You.
Hi, and thank you for joining me for this week's episode of BeBelle Podcast. If you have any thoughts, questions, or feedback for us, we always love for you to get involved. And you can find us on Instagram at BeBelle_podcast. Don't forget, though, that if you want to watch these episodes, you can see them all on my YouTube channel, Sian Horn. And don't forget to follow and subscribe. The more people that follow and subscribe, the better it is for the podcast, the more that we can improve future and going forward. So, with that being said, thank you so much for following BeBelle, and I hope you enjoy these next episodes.